Okay, Masaharu.
Yes.
How do you, as a teacher, establish and maintain effective relationships with students?
Of course, try to communicate with the students in the classroom time is really important. But I believe the before lesson and after lesson time, this is also really important. Then, as a math teacher here, so we welcome the students every day, right? Then we are not meeting students in the classroom, but also the before and after the class or lessons, right? So that time is really big chance for us to build up the good relationship with the students. And because in the classroom time, we have to follow many things, right? Like the math method, also the textbook we have to teach. And so we have to spend more time to work on it. But before and after the lesson, we have free time. Then that time, we should communicate with the students, right? And in the classroom, they practice many questions from textbook. Then they will be able to answer the question in the classroom because they know what to do in the first time.
Yeah.
But before and after, if teacher asks, how are you? Maybe they can answer the question, but sometimes they have to think about more answers or something. So it's also giving them more chance to speak English. And also, not only about that practice, but also, show me your toy, or if they are playing games in the hall, we can just go to the students and say, what are you playing or something? And we can share something, what they like or something like that. So I believe that way is really...
Yeah, like working on the puzzle together with high school students.
Yeah, so that really helps us to communicate with the students in the classroom as well.
I agree.
Do I answer well?
Yes, you answered very well. Gold star, Master. Okay. High expectations. How do you and how should other teachers communicate high expectations of all students in the areas of academic achievement, behavior, and like pride in their self-worth, in their work and in their goals?
So you mean how we encourage the student?
Yeah, how do we encourage students? How do we make them feel like I'm not a dumb student, I'm not a failure?
So maybe what the teachers and I have to do before we teach the students is, to know about the students as much as we can before the lesson. What age, how old they are, and what character they are, and what things they are interested in, those kind of stuff. Then how much they can speak English also, right? So if we don't know anything about the student, if we start from the questions, and if the question is not right level to ask those students, which means we are kind of giving that negative feeling to the students, right? So this is kind of not details, but to know about the students is really important to encourage the students. Then we can find a way how to encourage the students.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the answer.
Right, that's right. If we know what answers they can give, then we can give them opportunities to answer.
Yeah, and also, of course, in the classroom, if they could answer really well, wow, you're good at
wow, thank you.
Praise, so that's what we have to do for sure. And even if they make a mistake, if they can answer the question, it seems like they are having a hard time to answer the question. Of course, we're giving them a lot of hints.
Yeah, a lot of
prompt them also. So those are also helping students to encourage them.
Prompt them and say thank you when they answer. When they try.
And your face emotion is really important. Yeah, if you always frown and this student's always making mistakes, so troublesome or something like that. Even if you don't say that, kids can tell.
They can feel it.
Yeah, they can feel it. So always smile, always positive. Yeah, just students.
I agree. Rules, norms, and procedures. How do you establish and enforce rules, norms, and procedures? For example, letting the norms would be like that they need to follow along, right? Or, repeat after me, and then they repeat. And some rules would be, and consequences would be like, if we're touching too much, the other student doesn't like it, how do we establish those kinds of things?
So establish what?
Establish and enforce rules, norms, and procedures. For example, Mike's has the very procedures for repeating back after the teacher for warm-ups. Or we also have songs for the little kids, right? But there might also be some understanding, like we shouldn't cause trouble during the lesson time. Sometimes we see one student keeps touching
Each other or something.
each other, yeah, something like that.
All right. So this is also what I do all the time. So first, before I teach or before I move on to the lesson, I always have some short game to get their interest in me. Yeah, focus on me.
Right.
Oh, this teacher gonna do next. Oh, what? So I'm really interested in this teacher. What? Because this teacher always do something fun in English, of course.
Right.
So then students maybe stop touching each other. So they always watch me. But of course, I don't do something fun always. Of course, I look around always to the students, and I can tell, maybe this student is getting bored in 2 minutes because they're quiet or they started looking around the room or something like that. So that time, I have a short kind of, break. Even if it's only 10 seconds break, that works if that short activity worked well, right? So, but if the activity is kind of the big project activity, it takes time. We have to move the chair back or something like that. But I always pick up something very simple activity or movement thing to kind of, how to say, get their interest to me. Then get ready to move on to the next lesson or something like that. Am I answering okay?
Yeah, that's good. And I would also add, I've seen in your lessons, you're really good at repeating something, and then the students all together as a group repeat it back, and then you repeat it together, and then ask the student again. So if they aren't familiar with Mike's method, and they don't understand what's going on, then they can hear the group doing it. Oh, this is the...
So I think, of course, the method is very important.
Right.
Teachers should know the method, how to handle the method, of course, 100%, 200% for sure. But the students, they don't need to know the method.
Right.
What they have to do is follow the teacher, right? So we don't have to teach the method, but we need the student follow me.
Right.
Always.
Okay.
So what can I do?
Be interesting.
Yeah. And good rhythm, good tempo, and always clear gesture and eye contact. Then we always sit semicircle, right? Then we don't have any tables between students and teachers.
Right.
But if the teacher always sit down and no hand gestures and no, head moving, you can just verbal repeating, they never follow you. Even if you use your hand gesture, but if it's too small, they never follow you. If you need to be a dynamic,
Yeah, I think so.
way. You need to take dynamic way.
That's why I'm trying really hard to memorize everything and not use the book too much, so that I can be really entertained style.
Sure.
So, what positive and negative strategies should be used for managing behaviors?
So maybe same way. Maybe I already answered some.
Yeah, maybe you answered most of them.
Yeah.
But it's like you just try to be interesting, and naturally the students will, follow you. How should a teacher handle, prevent, or intervene in a disruptive behavior?
Okay. Yeah. So the same thing. So the teacher has to be entertainer.
Right.
And you mentioned before, some students, are very sensitive with the loud voice or kind of, big sound. So we have to be careful of that, of course. But teachers can't be quiet. Yeah, the teachers need to be entertainer, which means entertainers don't have to be always loud,
right,
or dynamic or something like that. We have to. How can be entertainer? When should we be entertainer? And timing is very important. But the teachers should know the student's character, each character, right? So these students are really quiet. They don't like the loud voice. But these students really like the exciting game or teach or something like that, right? So I try to get the middle.
Find the middle.
Yeah, find the middle depending on the class, right? Yeah.
Say like one of our students, and we were doing the interview. Please introduce yourself. But then he started to tear up and get really sensitive because it's a little scary just to do the full interview.
Yeah.
So something like that. How do we prevent student from feeling too overwhelmed, too scared and sensitive?
Yeah. So Mike's way. So we are teaching together, right?
Right.
So you are the main teacher and I'm a co-teacher, right? So that team teaching will work really well, right? We sometimes separate the group, right?
Right.
Not sometimes. We always, right? But if we have an introductory stage students, so if the students start something new, we have to teach together, right? Then they should know what the phrase or question means, those kind of stuff, right? Then after they got what to do, their worries
will go down.
Will go down or something like that. So that is really important.
Yeah, do it as a group.
And also the amount of, how to say it?
Questions?
Yeah, questions, right. Yeah, so we can't ask too much things.
Like an interrogation.
Yeah. So some questions in my senior school textbooks, like please introduce yourself. They have to memorize a lot of phrases, right? Then many teachers in the past try to let them do by themselves everything, right? But that's sometimes too much for the students.
Right.
Yeah, so if I'm teaching with you, and we always separate into groups, right? But when you are doing introductory stage with some students, there, I'm teaching my group here, but I'll always watch your group, right? If the students started struggling with some questions, sometimes I listen. Then, hey, Luna, are you okay? Or something like that, right? Then you also ask me sometimes, hey, Masa, could you translate it? Then I can translate it, right? So team teaching will help those kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And also, again, we should know what they can do and what they can't do.
Yeah. So in that student's case, doing so much of how old are you?
Yeah.
I'm years old. Where do you go to school? I go to Tama No. 1 Elementary School. And then maybe after 5, he feels really nervous. You might have to...
Right. So maybe ask the question what they can answer well first.
Right.
Then don't ask so many questions that they don't know well.
Yeah.
So 80% positive. But 20% not negative, challenging. So that balance is very important, I believe.
I agree. So, excellent. That's all.
Is it okay?
It's wonderful. Thank you, Masa. Yay!